The Lord of the Rings Return of the King video game again puts the fate of Middle-earth in the hands of the gamer. Welcome back to Watch Later with Leo Vader, an essay series about the overlooked nuggets in gaming that I can't stop thinking about. Movie tie-in games don't have the best reputation. With some notable exceptions, taking the plot and world of a big movie and transferring it to the gaming medium is often a low-effort cash grab and doesn't usually signify a worthwhile experience. But when a studio has actually pulled it off and produced something special, they've become some of the games that were the most important to me as a kid. That Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets game granted me my fantasy of going to magic school far more than the movies or books ever did. And rewatching the Lord of the Rings trilogy recently, they were still great, but I found the big fight scenes were mostly just making me nostalgic for my time spent participating in them in that Return of the King game. I remembered defending these cities myself and how much cooler that was than just watching it happen. Electronic Arts' Two Towers game, which came before this, was very similar, but it walked so that their Return of the King game could run. This one added co-op, much bigger levels, many more enemies at once, interactive environmental attacks, and it actually lets you play as everyone in the Fellowship, including Gandalf. In previews, they talked up the difficult undertaking of adding a magic system with Gandalf, but let's be real, he may as well just have a bow with a different color projectile. You're even still just picking up arrows to refill the amount of magic in your quiver. Also important to note, the Two Towers game did not come out on Mac, so I never had access to it as a kid, so that might be part of it. So first I need to convince you that this game was good, and then I'm going to investigate how it became so good. The combat loop is super basically all about leveling up to unlock combos, and using those combos to increase your kill rating meter to get more XP per kill to level up even more. Gaming that kill rating system is super satisfying, like pulling off a parry combo that puts you in perfect mode, the highest rating, right before using an environmental object so that the free kills it gives you are all rated perfect. Or just picking off a lone enemy with Final Judgment to get your rating up to excellent before swinging a faster combo at the larger group. Getting hit drops your rating super fast, so you've got to make sure you're timing out your combos carefully and abandoning them to parry when you need to. At the end of the mission, you get scored on the average of your kill ratings, and seeing that climb from fair to excellent or even perfect as you learn the feel of combat is super satisfying. Then it cashes in your XP to level you up, and it always leaves the XP bar right at the precipice before the next level. They have to be with me. It happens every single level. You can buy combos and upgrades that are character specific or work across the whole Fellowship, but the damage and timing of combos is usually different between characters, so it's fun to learn each of them and replay levels to boost them up. That combat system still feels unique to me. It's kind of a blend of more soulsy, deliberate combat and character action, quick combo-based games, all feeling very grounded and cinematic. It's super engaging and difficult enough that it asks you to really focus on what you're doing. Adventure levels, like working your way through the chaos of orcs and Uruks fighting each other at Cirith Ungol, those are exactly what I'm talking about when I say watching the movies just left me nostalgic for this game. Sam gets a few good hits in that scene, but to be honest, I was left hoping for a moment where he drops a chandelier on a group of 30 orcs entering perfect mode instantly. It's goofy and gamey, but also, I'm the one doing it. That's what games have over movies, right? Movies can unquestionably immerse me and make me feel stuff, but at the end of the day, it's less exciting for me to watch Sam save Frodo than it is for me to save Frodo. The defense levels are a pretty good gamification of the movie's larger battles, and from the first tutorialized level fighting from moment to moment at Helm's Deep, it really hits you how much love went into the grand sound design. Firing the ballista at the bridge sounds cinematic like nothing else I was playing in 2003. Another defense level at Minas Tirith gamifies holding back a siege in a more systemic way. The overrun meter fills as ladders keep landing on the walls, and it's up to Gandalf to knock them down with a physical attack, which is part of the regular moveset. Giant towers of Uruks require you to use the catapult or the game's robust magic system to destroy. And this stuff is hard. I put it on easy mode for the purpose of capturing, and even when nailing the combat, the city would still get overrun if I wasn't knocking the ladders back as fast as possible. It really builds that feeling of impossible odds that the siege scenes should have. The levels are exciting because they aim to recreate the feel of the movies, not retell the story. The developers never hid this fact, admitting in interviews that you aren't going to really understand what's going on if this is your only experience with the franchise. And maybe they had no choice but to make it light on story because the game released a month before the movie for some reason. But it really doesn't matter. Making each level a feeling rather than a story works. hiding from the Witch King on your way out of Osgiliath, helping the Ents literally tear down Isengard, comboing ghosts on the paths of the dead. Okay, maybe that one was kind of a stretch. The plot isn't completely bare bones though. There are little story preludes and postludes that use footage from the movie, and it transitions to and from gameplay unbelievably smoothly. I'm sorry, I thought it was supposed to transition to gameplay here. It should be any second now. That kind of leads me to how this game got so good. I think a good part of it was the unprecedented access they had to assets from the movie. That always strikes me as just a marketing bullet point, and I'm sure they said it about the Two Towers game too. But in this case, I was surprised to learn that for Return of the King, they actually opened up an office within the same building as the Weta Workshop while they were doing post-production and pickup shoots for the movie. They also hired some of the same stunt doubles from the movie to do the motion capture to make it as accurate as possible, and even mocap to kill Aragorn does, that got cut from the Two Towers film. Nina Dobner wrote in a dev diary for GameSpot that they'd sourced 200,000 assets from the film for the game, which again, marketing bullet point, but if it was a tenth that much, I'm still very impressed. And it shows. For the time, the fidelity on Sam's backpack boggled my mind. Those GameSpot dev diaries reveal a few very notable names that might put the talent clearly at work on this game in context. Executive producer Glenn Schofield, for one, who went on to create Dead Space and found Sledgehammer Games, plus his longtime collaborator Brett Robbins as a lead designer, who would later become creative director on Dead Space. Also as lead designer, we've got Kris Tremel of Boogerman fame, and last but certainly not least, we have Neil Young as executive producer. Oh. It was funny to learn that Peter Jackson didn't really like these games. He went to Ubisoft for his next movie tie-in, King Kong, with his manager being quoted as saying, "Electronic Arts was not interested in input from the filmmaker." Gotta say, seems like EA made the right call there. The whole reason I think this game worked is because it focused on the strengths of being a game, going above the bare minimum of trying to recreate the movie or resting on the automatic purchase the brand represented at the time. It brought the action from the movies into a combat system that was complex enough to be demanding and empowering. Also, I was a kid when I played it, and that's probably a factor. I will say, playing it again to record the gameplay, it's still fun. It reviewed in the solid 8s at the time, and that feels about fair. But like many adults who used to be kids, it is very hard to give a nostalgialess read of this game I adored at a young age, playing over and over as every character and in co-op with every person in my life. And I was stunned by the littlest things, like watching that unlockable video Hobbits on Gaming on repeat, blown away by the actors from the movie actually playing the same game I was. And those extra unlockable videos were right on the main screen with all the levels. It always felt to me like the Return of the King game should have been the last disc in the Return of the King movie box set, as much a definitive part of the franchise as any of the films. But I know that's a very nostalgia-infused take. The game was just so special to me because of things like that Hobbits on Gaming video and that unbelievable production value, and the fact that it came to Mac, the only place I could play games. It all just made me feel like my obsession with gaming was becoming cool, mature, and mainstream. Thanks for watching, everybody. Watch Laters go up every other Friday. They're always me, they're always doing video essays, and they're always a great time. Patrons at our Backstage Pass tier for $10 a month, they get to watch me edit all of these, and we talk and hang out and chat, and people apparently learn how to edit by watching them. I do answer editing questions and weird stuff like that. It's always very fun. Thanks for watching.